Mr. Sailend Kadre holds his master degree in designing engineering from IIT Delhi. He is also a certified project management professionals from Project Management Institute itself. Thank you. Thanks all. And now it's over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks, Gautam, for a warm introduction. So I welcome all participants here, first of all. And I thank Mr. Shape.ai and Mr. Gautam for giving me this opportunity to present a business case on machine learning here. So I am Shailendra Kadre, as Gautam introduced, and I have with me my colleague Uddesh Soman, who is a student of Ujjain Engineering College, and he is a partner in AI Club, and he will be presenting a case study after my presentation. Okay. So first of all, let me set the expectations right. It is only an introductory session for ML beginners. It's only an introductory session. Okay. Don't expect hi-fi fundas or hi-fi things, because I'm expecting most of you are students and beginners, machine learning beginners. So this is the introductory session, and we'll keep it very simple. We'll keep it very simple so that everybody understands. So what is agenda today? Agenda is like we will give a general overview. I will give a general overview of machine learning around 45 minutes. And after that, my colleague Uddesh Somans will be giving Uddesh Soman will be giving a 60 minutes ML tutorial, so that you get a feel that how ML works and how exactly problem solving is done using machine learning algorithms. Okay, so this is how we divided in two parts. After my session of 45 minutes, we will have a short Q&A session, and after that, Mr. Uddesh will take over and he will take us to the tutorial. Okay, so this is my introduction. Like as Mr. Gautam introduced, I have masters in design engineering from IIT Delhi. I passed way back in 1993. I am PMP certified, and I have done my post graduation in AI/ML also from IIIT Bangalore, International Institute of Technology Bangalore. I have done their machine learning and AI post graduation, and I am a lead auditor in information security. Currently, I am working as a worldwide product analytics lead with HP, and I have written total 3 books. One is on project management, and another 2 are from data science. So that is my brief introduction. And my hobbies, if you want to know about my hobbies, it is say teaching, and I love teaching. I love interacting with guys like you. And author, I'm an author. I like writing. Okay. So with that introduction, I straightway jump to the what is machine learning. I'm assuming that all of you guys are very new to machine learning, and all of you guys are students. That's what I'm assuming. Okay. So what is, first of all, we'll start with what is machine learning. So a machine learning engineer is basically a programmer. Remember that he is basically a programmer. Okay. So what is the difference between a machine learning program and a normal computer program? So there is one Mr. Herbert Alexander Simon. He was awarded Nobel Prize in Economics in 1978. He has given a very beautiful definition of machine learning programming. So see, let me read what he words machine learning like. Machine learning is the process by which system improve performance by experience. Means as the time passes by, as we expose the program to more and more data, the performance of a machine learning program improves. But if it is a normal computer program, nothing of that sort happens. Or machine learning, the performance of a normal computer program remains same from start to the end. But for a machine learning program, as we expose it to more data, as the program learns by itself, and its performance improves. Okay. Machine learning is concerned with computer programs that automatically improve their performance through experience. So we'll see how. I'll tell you how. Okay. So this is the beautiful definition given by Mr. Herbert Simon, who was given Nobel Prize in Economics. Okay. So we will say that why there are normal computer programs are there. So why we need to develop machine learning type of computer programs? Okay. So we want to develop such systems which automatically adapt and customize themselves to individual users. Like there is a flood of news and emails. Okay. So you must say everyone must be having a Google account. So Google automatically filters spam emails with a ham email. Means good email and bad email Google separates already. So whatever are your bad emails are there, which advertising emails are there, it separates those emails into a separate spam folder. So how it does it? So it does it with it's a machine. There is a big machine learning program running behind, and it separates both spam and ham. So ham means good kind of emails, and spam means mails which don't want. So there is a machine learning program running behind. So it runs. So discover new knowledge from large databases. So now you know that Flipkart is there and Amazons are there and many other websites are there which are generating tons and tons of petabytes of data every day. Okay. So from that data, what they do? So they generate some kind of patterns, they generate some kind of knowledge which is useful to increase their sales. So how they increase the patterns from the data which is generated daily? So they use machine learning programs to generate the data. We'll see how it is done. Now, one more aim of machine learning program is to mimic human and replace certain monotonous tasks which require some intelligence. Means clerical jobs or Excel sheet, if you have to fill Excel sheet, or if you have to some routine jobs, if you have to do, some clerk is doing some routine jobs. So machine learning program can learn the job of a human and it can replace a human. Okay. So repetitive jobs, the jobs which require less intelligence, job which doesn't require emotions, such kind of jobs can be replaced by machine learning programs. So okay. So like you have to automatically read handwritten characters. So we have handwriting, right? Everybody's handwriting is different. Okay. So we can develop some machine learning programs which can read everybody's handwriting, like very accurately they can read. And they can very accurately they can read the handwritten letters. What is the advantage? Advantage means like in railway platform, like in banks and all, many people fill many forms by hand, right? Handwritten forms are there. So machine what machine learning program what it will do? It will automatically read those handwritten fields, and it will automatically update the database using the the knowledge which it has got through reading the handwritten characters. So these kind of less intelligence jobs which are there, which require less intelligence, such jobs can be automated. Okay. Now I'll give you an example of machine learning program which everybody will recognize. So in the left hand side figure, we see a small baby, okay, baby girl. So she is sitting with a home dog. Her home dog, she is sitting. Okay, she recognizes that dog. He's a big dog. She recognizes that it has 2 ears, two eyes, one nose, and one mouth. It has 4 feet. So it recognizes how dogs looks like. Then what his family does, what her family does, is they gives a very small puppy, which is shown in the right hand side. The baby is very small. She has never seen any puppy before. But since she has seen the home dog before, she will recognize that this is a dog, because it also has similar features: 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 nose. It looks similar to her home dog. Okay. So as you have feed her, baby, you have already given information. So from that earlier experience, it has learned that how dogs look like. So automatically, when you present her the small puppy, it will recognize that it is a puppy, and it will start playing without fearing and all. She will start playing with it. So machine learning program is also similar to it. They are given some kind of information. They are fed with some information by which they learn. And when the next time the similar information comes in front of them, they automatically resolve the information, saying that yes, this kind of experience I already had in the data previously, and now I am able to recognize it because this kind of experience was fed to me previously. Okay, so it learns from the past data. Okay, so don't worry if you don't understand at this stage. We'll go ahead. You will understand better. Now, One more kind of machine learning program is very, very common. Like you go to McDonald's or you go to KFC. What they do? They give you a burger. They give you fries. So 90% people with fries, burger and fries, they will order a drink also. So what they will do? They will club fries, burger, and drink together and make it a meal. So they will say McDonald's meal, mini meal, something priceless. So they will price it less. Okay. So how they come to know that? How they will come to know that? How they will come to know that with burger fries and drink go together, because by experience they have learned that 90% of people who order burger and fries, they also order drink. Okay, so they have clubbed it together with program. So this is a very simple example. Now you go to a little complex example. You go to a superstore. So now you see there is a database on the left hand side in the superstore. There is a transaction ID 1 to 15 transaction ID, and there is an item list. So what is this item list? First customer comes, he buys cookies, egg, milks, and sandwich. Second customer buys bottled water, burger, chicken, egg, pizza, and salad. Third customer comes, he buys bacon, bottled water, egg, sandwich, and yogurt. Fourth customer comes, burger, pie, pizza, salad, and soda. So like that. So like that, thousands of customers are coming. So 5-6 months, such data is collected. And that data is collected is fed to a machine learning program. So machine learning program learns that which kind of items often go together. Okay. So what will happen? So machine learning program has already learned that this kind of item will often go together. So Amazon, if you have ever shopped on Amazon, you are very familiar with the right hand side screen which I am showing here. You just see my cursor here, right hand side. There's two guys and one girl is shown in trousers. So this kind of, that is very familiar to you if you have gone to Amazon. So what Amazon is telling, customers who bought this item also brought. Matlab, you have purchased 2 items and Amazon is giving you recommendation for the 3rd item and 4th item. How it has learned? Because in the past, lot of his customer, whatever items you have bought, like you have bought 1 shirt and 1 tie. So lot of his customer, along with shirt and tie, they have also brought trousers. So automatically, computer program knows that with shirt and tie, trouser generally people buy. So it is giving you a recommendation that you also buy trousers, because customer who brought shirt and tie, they have also bought trousers. So it recommends. So it is highly likely that you will click in one of the trousers because you need trousers, right? You forgot to take the trousers, or you plan to take it later. But your recommendation is shown to you, advertisement is shown to you that you can buy trousers also. So how that has learned? So that is the database which is in the left hand side, the transaction ID and item list, which is fed into the computer program. Computer program has learned that these items often go together. So based on that, Amazon is giving you recommendations, whatever you buy. Okay. So whatever books you buy, couple of books you buy, 3-4 books recommendations are always given in the bottom. Customer who bought this customer buy these items also bought this. So the more 3-4 books are given. So it is likely that you will click one of them and their sale will increase. So these kind of systems are called recommender systems. So this is also one kind of machine learning program. So right now I have shown you 2 kind of one machine learning program, which is recommender system. So you know that now you have little idea how it learns. Okay. So now more and more this kind of data on the left hand side you see. The more and more this kind of data you feed to the computer program becomes smarter. Is not more and more, that more of the set it knows that these items, this goes together. These items, this goes together. This item goes together. More data you feed into the computer program, more smarter the computer program becomes. Okay. So it is learning by experience. So this is called machine learning. So this is one subclass of machine learning called recommender systems. So you have seen it. So like that, you have many uses of machine learning. Like I'm showing you some of the uses which are flagged on your screen. It is used in image processing in medical. It is used in computer vision. It is used in marketing. It is used in medical manufacturing. It is used in medical diagnosis. You must have seen face recognition systems which recognize, which allow you entry based on your face. They recognize your face. So face recognition systems also uses machine learning, bioinformatics, then gene expression, medicine. Machine learning is everywhere nowadays. It's everywhere. Fraud detections, like bank when you go, your loan applications are there, right? Loan applications are there. So the loan company bank agent will come to you and he will ask you to fill a very long form of 3-4 pages. They will ask you lot of information about you. So what they do with that information? All this information is fed into a computer program, which is machine learning program, and then it will decide whether they should give you loan or not. So your score is more than 80%, then company will give you loan. Your score is between 70 to 80%, company will give you loan, but at a higher interest rate. So if your score is less than 70%, company will reject your application. That's also a machine learning program. So fraud detection, like every day Visa or MasterCard, everybody knows, right? Visa, MasterCard, credit card. These are two major credit card companies in the world, Visa and MasterCard. Everybody knows. So like if you have any debit card or credit card, I think if you are a student, then you are unlikely to have credit card, but you might have debit cards, right? A debit card also nowadays, Visa or MasterCard is written. So what are these? So these are credit card companies. These are two competitor companies, Visa and MasterCard. What they do? All the transaction you do on ATMs, all the transaction which you do using the debit card in supermarkets, all they go to their servers somewhere outside India. They go outside India and they go for approval there. And millions of transactions per minute are fed into those servers. And out of those million transactions, very few will be fraudulent transactions, like somebody has stolen your credit card or somebody has stolen your debit card. So those transactions, Visa, MasterCard has to identify and block your card. So how they identify fraudulent transaction? They are also machine learning programs. So millions of transactions are fed into real time into Master and Visa card servers. They are fed into machine learning programs, and most of them will be genuine people, like people like you and me will be doing transaction. So 99.99% will be genuine transaction, but 0.01% transaction will be done by fraudulent people also, fraud people also. Those transactions, they have to catch and block your card before the transaction happens. So this is also machine learning. Spam detection. Now everyone knows spam detection because you all guys have Google accounts. So how Google separates spam email? So it is also a machine learning program. And more spam is fed into Google program, more and more smarter it becomes. Okay. So this is what machine learning is. So what are machine learning? Many of you might be from, let me clear one thing. Even if you are from mechanical, civil, or chemical, or any other non-circuit branch background, you can come into machine learning. It is not a rocket science, okay? But if you are already from a computer science background, if you know programming, then it will be a bit easier. But you are from other branches, you have to learn the programming. Machine learning engineer is nothing but a programmer. He is a hardcore programmer. Hardcore programmer which works with data and statistics, okay? So you should know programming. So if you are willing to enter into programming, you are willing to learn programming, any guy, civil, mechanical, electrical, electronics, any guy can come into machine learning and he can make a nice career in machine learning, okay? So there is no rocket science in that. So how machine learning program works? Let me tell that. First of all, machine learning program, as you have understood, it runs without data. Machine learning program is nothing, zero. You need data. You need data to run a machine learning program. And data also should be quality data. If you feed junk data to the program, your program will take junk decision. It will be of no use. So your data should be quality data. So very first step in the machine learning, starting any machine learning project, is the data acquisition. You need data. Once you collect the data from various sources, it can be from like government sources, or you can buy the data. So there are some data selling companies are there. Then you can have some surveys and collect the data. There are many sources of data. Then companies are there who are having years of transaction data, right? Like Visa and MasterCard. So every day millions of transactions are happening, billions of transactions are happening worldwide for Visa and MasterCard servers. So they have transaction data, their own databases. So companies have their own databases. Companies can buy the data. Company can take data from various different sources. They can collect the data. Then next step is that data as it is not useful because it is in various different formats. So you have to use into a very usable format. You have to bring that data into usable format. So to bring into usable format, you have to always do data cleaning. And let me tell you one thing, data acquisition and data cleaning is the 70% effort of any machine learning project. So suppose your machine learning project is 100 hours, have 70 hours you will be spending in data acquisition and data cleaning. Once your data is cleaned and taken into a required format which is needed, then we make a machine learning model. Machine learning model. So you'll ask, what is the machine learning model? Machine learning model is nothing but it is a mathematical model in which we feed the data. After my session, Mr. Uddesh Soman, who is my colleague, will be taking one full session tutorial on how data modeling is done, how machine learning models are deployed. He will explain you a simple machine learning model. So please stay on, hang on after my lecture is over. Please hang on. I will teach you a nice tutorial. So you will get a full feel of how machine learning program works. So then you will never ask the question, what is data, what is model? Then this question will be clear to you today. Once the model is made, we'll take some part of the data as feed in the model in the training. We give the model we have to do model training with some part of the data. Some part of the data we take as test data. Okay. Once the training is done with this test data, with that test data, we do model testing. And after that model testing, we'll see that accuracy is 80-90% accuracy is there. And your business people have accepted the model. They say, yes, model is accurate, then you deploy the model. But lot of computer programming is there in between, like data acquisition, data cleaning. Data cleaning is nothing, but you have to do a lot of programming. To clean the data, you have to do a lot of programming. To do a model training, you have to do a lot of programming. To do model testing, you have to do a lot of programming. And model deployment also, you have to do a lot of programming. But fortunately, there are a lot of libraries are available in Python, in R. There are many packages available, SAS, Python, R. Many packages are available which give you libraries. You can use their methods without doing much programming. You can solve your problem. So these are the basic steps in machine learning. Like I want to tell you how database looks like. So this is a typical data table in front of you. Okay. So it's an email database. So what is first column? First column is transaction number, like number of new recipient. So this is the number recipient, like 1 to 5, like recipient number. Email length in kilobyte. How many kilobyte, like email size, kilobytes. How many kilobytes email is there? Which country it is originating from? Germany, Nigeria, Russia. Customer type, gold, silver, bronze. Because you know that companies classify customers into various categories like gold, silver, bronze. So that is customer category. And then after that, email. Ham means good email. Spam means bad email. Spam we don't want, ham we want. So already this kind of data is there. We feed it to an ML program. We first train. We give the training to machine learning program, and then whenever a new email comes, the email type will not be given. Email type will not be known. We will be knowing only other fields. Email type will not be known. Email type will be determined by the program automatically whether if your email is a spam or a ham. That your email program will, your machine learning program will automatically determine. But while training, you have to give this kind of data to them, where this kind of labeled data, that which kind of email is spam, which kind of is ham. This kind of, while training, you have to be this kind of data. But when you do when you do in actual production, actual machine learning program runs, then your email type will not be given. It will automatically determine whether your email is a good email or a bad email, whether it is a spam email or a ham email. Okay. Now there are two types of numeric field here. Like these are numeric fields which are in numbers, which are numeric fields. Then you see these are categorical fields, like nominal fields, ordinal fields. So I'm not going into much details, but which are in string type, like Germany, gold, ham. These are they are collectively called categorical fields. And numeric fields, these are numeric fields. So there are various kind of data, various kind of fields in your table, and there are various ways to deal with it. Okay. So I am repeating again how a machine learning program works. You have a database in which you have training data and test data. In between, you have a algorithm, machine learning algorithm, which is to be trained with the trained data. We train it with the help of trained data. And once it is trained, then it will give you the result, the classification it gives. Okay. Once it is trained and tested, then you can use it for classification, whether email is spam or ham, that kind of email, that kind of classification. This is a very simple representation of a email program. Okay. Now I want to tell you, like, you want to make a neural network. So don't worry about neural network. Neural network is a class of machine learning program. Just it is enough for you for now. Neural network is a complex class of machine learning program. So first we train the neural network, how a dogs look like, how a cats look like, how a V shape look like. Okay, we'll train it first. So with that, if we supply enough data, your neural network learns to recognize dog, cat, V sign. Next time you feed a dog, you feed a cat to it, then automatically it recognizes. Then cat can be so black cat, white cat, or purple cat, any kind of cat you feed it, it will recognize that it is a cat, because you have already trained it, the machine learning program. You have already trained the machine learning program how a cat looks like. So whenever next time you bring an image of a cat, it can be sitting, it can be standing, it can be a close-up from mouth. Any kind of cat you feed, it will recognize that it is the image of a cat, because already you have trained it previously that how a cat looks like. Okay. So in different ways, I am trying to explain you what is machine learning program is different from a normal computer program. Now, little bit technical. Machine learning programs are mainly classified into two types: classification and regression. Classification means email is good or bad. Email is good or bad. Transaction is fraud or good. Like you have two classes here, right? Good or bad. Good is one class, bad is one class. Transaction is fraud or transaction is valid. So their valid is one class and fraud is one class. So two classes are there. So we are classifying here. So the line which you see here, the dotted line which you see here on the left hand side, dotted line, slanted line, the slanted line. This is nothing but a machine learning model. On the top, everything is good. On the bottom, everything is bad. So it is classifying. Good emails are on the top, bad emails on the bottom. Like that, it's classifying. Another type of machine learning problems are regression. Like, what is regression? Many of you might know regression. Regression means it is not classification. Regression means numbers. It is only numbers. Like person XYZ has a salary of, say, $50,000 per year, or say 6 lakhs per annum salary, 6 lakh per annum. Like that, lot of customers, a lot of employees they feed. Somebody's salary is 6 lakh, somebody 8 lakh, somebody 4 lakh, somebody 3 lakh. Numbers are there, right? Their salary is there, 3 lakh, 4 lakh. Like that, lot of data you have feed into a machine learning program. Next time you feed a new employee or a new customer, you feed, and you don't give it salary. Computer program will automatically tell you that its salary will be in the range of 6 lakhs to 8 lakhs. Computer program will tell you. Why? How it is tell you? Because you have trained your computer program that this type of customer, if customer is from Bombay, if he is working in IT, if he is young, his salary will be 6 lakhs. So next time you feed a person from Bombay, he is in IT, he is young. The computer program will automatically tell you his salary is between 6 lakhs to 8 lakhs. So like that. So numbers, prediction of numbers. So that number is called regression, and classification, good, bad, fraud, valid fraud, good fraud, that kind of classification and regression. These are two main categories of machine learning programs. Basic, very basic, I am telling. Okay, these are two kind of machine learning program. Now, like, and there are two kinds of learning, like one is supervised learning and non-supervised learning. So supervised learning means I already told you, in this is a neural network. Neural network means a machine learning program. You have trained it with a dog image. When you feed a dog image, you tell it is a dog. When you feed a cat image, you tell it is a cat. When you say V image, you say it is a V. So when you feed an image, you tell the computer program it is this. Okay, so you tell the right answer also, you tell to the computer program. Label also you tell the right answer. You tell, yeah, this is a dog image, it is dog. Cat image, it is a cat. V image, it is a V. So like that, you tell computer the right answer also. Next time you feed a cat image, automatically it tells you it is a cat. Okay, so this kind of program where we already give the labels. Labels means answers while training. It is called supervised learning. So credit card transaction data, like credit card transaction, I told you, like to classify fraud transactions with good transactions. So already we have fed millions of transactions to a million computer program, saying that this kind of transactions are good and this kind of transactions are fraud. We have already told it. So next time when a new transaction comes, it automatically can put into the category whether it is a fraud transaction or a good transaction, because we have already told that this kind of transaction coming from, say, Nigeria, or coming from, say, bar, or coming from this area, may be fraud. Or this customer is usually spending only below 10,000. If transaction is above 1 lakh, customer X, his general transaction pending tendency that he always spends below 10,000. But suppose one transaction is coming just for that customer X is 1 lakh rupees. So computer program may recognize, yes, there is some abnormality. Generally, this customer X spends only below 10,000, and now this transaction is coming 1 lakh. So immediately it will classify that transaction as fraud transaction, and it will give you to a backend employee to decide whether it is really a fraud transaction. Okay, so this is called supervised learning. So unsupervised learning means, I'll tell you, like this kind of unsupervised learning means, you very simple example I'm giving you. There are three types of vegetables in this. There are three types of vegetables in this mixture in the left-hand side figure. We don't tell computer that which kind of vegetable is what is what vegetable. We don't tell the computer. We don't tell it computer. What computer does? Computer sees the color, shape, weight, size. It sees that everything, and then automatically it categorizes similar colored thing together. See, so this mixture we have given, and now the computer has separated like three type of vegetables. Potatoes are separated, and two more type of vegetables are separated. But while training the data, while training the computer program, we never told that we are giving three type of vegetable, or this is this vegetable one, this is vegetable two, this is vegetable three. No, we don't tell it. We don't tell computer. Automatically by reading, computer finds the similarity between data, and it classifies yes, there are three kind of data here. One is dark color, one is a little yellowish, and little is greenish. This kind of computer program automatically like this kind of data when we feed, so computer program will automatically categorize that, yeah, the data is in three categories. There are three similar categories which I can divide this data into. The computer itself decides. So that is called unsupervised learning. Like we are feeding a lot of customer data into a computer program, and the computer program automatically will divide that customer data into, say, 5 customer segments, different customer segment. Lot of customers we are feeding in. Suppose we are feeding 1,000 customers. So 1,000 customers, it is divided into 5 categories. 5 similar customers. It has put in one category, like high income, high spend customer in one category, low income, low spend customer in one category, medium spend and medium income customer in one category, then low income, high spend customer in another category. So like that, it automatically divides. So that is called unsupervised learning. So these two, there are two main types of computer programs, supervised and unsupervised. So there are two types of. So here I will end. After that is again my introduction. If anybody has a question about my introduction, this is my introduction. And then I will open floor little bit for I'll take few questions and then I'll pass it on to my colleague Uddesh. She will give you a full tutorial on a complete coding tutorial. He will give you a complete coding tutorial. He's going to explain you on simple linear regression, which is a machine learning model. So you will get a complete feel of what is machine learning and how it is solved, how coding is done, and how the problems are solved. So he will explain you everything. So please stay on. Okay. So I'll take a couple of questions right now. So I'm ending I told already that I will be keeping it very simple. So I kept it very simple to explain you what is machine learning and what kind of machine learning programs are there. Okay. So if anybody has any questions, you can please put into chat. I'll take a couple of questions before I will hand it over to. So hope you liked the session. How you liked it? Yes or no? Put yes or no in the chat section. Yeah. So if you have any question, please put the questions. Please, yeah, I see a lot of yeses. No. So if you have any questions, please put. So I'm just given the introduction today. Okay. And below that, I will be telling you one thing, that we are running a machine learning channel, which is given in the right hand side bottom corner. It's called name is the AI Club by Shailendra Kadre. AI means artificial intelligence. The AI Club by Shailendra Kadre. You can search it and subscribe to it. It is a Hindi channel in machine learning. So you'll find everything there. Okay. So I find one question here. One question is there. Can machine learning be used in open world games, realistic physics to train ML programs in area like self-driving? Yeah. So yes. So machine learning, self-driving is a perfect use of very advanced use of machine learning programs. So there are self-driving cars are having very advanced machine learning programs, and mainly they use supervised kind of learning. So they use neural network. I showed you neural network. No? So very very complex neural networks self-driving cars use. Yes. So they can be used to train games. They can be used in physics. They can be used in self-driving cars. So they are all applications of machine learning programs. Very nice. Any other question? So I'll wait for a couple of days. Else I will hand over to Mr. Uddesh Soman.
Sir, M. Gothmani is asking real life examples of regression and classification.
Yeah. Real life example of regression and classification. Okay. So real life examples of regression and classification. Okay. I will tell you one real life example of a regression first. Okay. So I am a real estate agent. इसको बोलते हैं ना, मतलब real estate agent, मतलब जो हमको किराए का घर दिलवाते हैं या फिर हमको घर सेल करना है तो जो हमारी हेल्प करते हैं, कस्टमर ढूंढने में जो हेल्प करते हैं. तो अभी आई एम ए रियल एस्टेट एजेंट, तो मेरी रियल एस्टेट की एजेंसी है. ठीक है. अब क्या हो रहा है कि I always get new type of houses. New type of houses I get, and I have to find its real price. Real price है ना, क्या इसका real price क्या होगा? क्योंकि हाउस ओनर तो हमेशा जो है, अगर 10 लाख का मकान है तो हाउस ओनर हमेशा 25 लाख मांगेगा. तो वैसा तो होता नहीं है ट्रांजैक्शन तो हमेशा ट्रांजैक्शन ऑलवेज ऑन रियलिस्टिक प्राइस. So I have to find the real price of a realistic price of your house, how much it is. Okay, so what I will do, if I am very systematic and a smart guy, what I will do, whatever houses I have dealt with so far, I know their real transaction price, right? I know that this particular house 1 was sold for 25 lakh rupees, house 2 was sold for 80 lakh rupees, house 3 was sold for 3 lakh rupees, 3 crore rupees, like that I know. Then I know their location also, I know their attributes also, like how many bedroom it has, how many bathroom it has, how many stores it has, what is here, how old it is, whether it is on the front road or not, whether it is a corner house, whether it is a open land or not, open land is there with the house or not, whether water is there or not, how is the locality, is it a posh locality or not. So I love that. All attributes I know. Okay. What I will do, I'll prepare a database. In that database, suppose I have dealt with 10,000 houses in my 5 years of career. All 10,000 houses I will feed into that. That this is a 3-bedroom house, three bathroom house. It is located in a posh locality. It is having a 30 by 40 plot. It is built in 1975 or 78, like that. All attributes of that house I will feed. It is painted in so and so. Its tiles is marble or not, or all the attributes of the house I will feed. And then I'll feed the probable price also that house that I know that transaction because it was sold at 25 lakh rupees. Like that I feed. So I have database all the house attributes, plus I have house prices also. That kind of data I have. So I can use a supervised machine learning model like linear regression or random forest regression I can use. I feed that kind of data into a machine learning model. Machine learning model mein feed karunga. And then I'll train that machine learning model that next time, if I give you these attributes, 5-6 attributes, you should be able to tell me the price, approximate price. Now you are a new customer and I am a result strategy. I have my machine learning program running in the backend, and new customer walks in. So I will ask him all the details. I will give him a form and ask him all the details which I have to feed into my computer program. I'll send some of my agents to see the house, and the remaining fields which are not filled in all those attributes I will fill up. All the attributes now I have the new house. But that now you are telling me that I have to sell it for 60 lakhs. But I don't believe it. It is a 60 lakh house. I don't know its real price. So all that attributes which I have taken from you from the computer in the form, and from my agent with whatever he has done the site inspection, those attributes I will feed into that computer program and ask my computer program what is the realistic price. So now my computer program tells that price is 55 lakhs only. Maximum price is 55 lakhs. So I will tell you, boss, you are telling 60 lakhs, good. If I get a customer for 60 lakh, definitely I will give you. But the realistic price which it will go, your product will go, is between 50 to 55 lakhs. If you are ready, the transaction will be earlier. And if you are adamant that price is 60 lakhs only, then it might take 2 years, 1 year, whatever time it takes. But if you are very realistic, so I can sell your house for 50 to 55,000. So this is a regression problem. Now another I am telling you like classification problem. So classification problem, I have been giving you example. Like bank is approving loans. Any banks like SBI is approving loans. Okay, approving loans, right? So it has 1,000 customer of data. Like all attributes have customer. Like customer is low income, his age, his job, his income, how many dependents are there, which locality he is staying, all that data he has, how much is household expenditure, all that kind of data bank has. And whether that information also has, the bank has that whether the loan was approved to this customer or not. That also data I have. So like that, I have data of 1 lakh customers. So that data I will feed into a machine learning program. Now next time you walk in, I am a bank manager. I have that computer program. You are a new customer. You are asking loan for your house. You walk into my bank and ask, sir, I want loan. So I will give you a form in which all those fields will be filled up, which I give to computer program. And I'll ask you to give all that information, your age, your salary, how many dependents on you, how many other loans you have, how many other credit cards you have, a lot of other fields I will ask. Okay. So all you will fill, all that fields I will fill into that computer program. And that machine learning program will tell that, boss, this customer is risky, don't give him loan, or give him in a higher interest rate, or this customer is credit worthy, give him loan, approve the loan. Very easy, my job. Right? I will use my personal judgment also, my experience also will use. But to supplement that personal judgment, I will use the computer program. I will take the computer program cells also, right? That is the classification program. Now, next question is how to become a data scientist. So, boss, you know Hindi. Dheeraj Kumar, aap kahan se ho? Dheeraj Kumar, are you from? I will answer this question in English only. So, Dheeraj Kumar, what is there? You first of all concentrate on maths, linear algebra, and little bit differential calculus. linear matrix algebra,
Hello.
determinants. Yeah,
Good
hello.
evening, sir. I'm from Mathura, sir.
Okay.
I'm
So,
from Mathura.
okay, okay, Dheeraj. So you concentrate on linear algebra and trigonometry a bit and differential calculus a bit. So that is the basics, okay, of your any machine learning program. After that, you try to build up your programming. If you are from which branch is yours? Which is your branch?
CSC, sir.
Yeah, CSC. Then you are
CSC.
already into programming. You are already into programming, so it is very easy for you. So you first start looking into some maths part, and then you know programming. Then I'll suggest you join into one of the good postgraduate programs in data science, like Upgrade is running or Great Learning. There are many good institutes which are running postgraduate programs in machine learning. So you join one of them. They will teach you machine learning for 1 year, and then you can become all these techniques and you can become machine learning. And best, I will tell you, better than anything else in less money.
Okay.
IIT Madras, Indian
Okay, sir.
Institute of Technology Madras, is running a Bachelor of Science course, BSc. BSc जिसको बोलते हैं ना, Bachelor of Science course in Data Science and Programming. So you guys, along with your BTech, you can join that program. And IIT Madras will teach you everything online. It's an online program. IIT Madras will teach you everything, and they will give you a BSc degree in data science. And they will charge you very less money also, very less money. And degrees from IIT, and that to a bachelor's degree of 3 years. And IIT Madras gives you 5 years to complete that degree. Matlab, if you are not able to complete it in 3 years, they give you 5 years to complete that degree. Okay. So you join that program. You will be king. You will learn a lot. You have a very great degree with you, IIT Madras. If you don't want to join that 3 years degree, then I'll suggest you search for Great Learning or Upgrade. You might have heard of Upgrade. Those websites you learn, they are offering a lot of postgraduate programs. That is 1 year, 6 months. So whatever suits your pocket, you can join. So I will suggest you to take formal training, okay? And don't take from the Chota Mota Institute, okay? Join some nice institute, like two institute I'm already telling, Great Learning and Great Learning I know, and there is one called Upgrade, UPGRAD. So these two I know, they are good. They will not do any frauds. So they will offer both you 6 months degree plus 1 year degree. So you can take that. I have taken 1 year course from the Upgrade. I have taken 1 year course from Upgrade, so you can take that if you want. And if you want 3 year degree in less money, IIT degree, you want that, you join that IIT Madras. You go to IIT Madras website and search for BSc program. BSc in data science, you will get it. Okay, so you go for any one of two. Okay, and detailed explanation. Harsha Shravan is asking detailed explanation of ML algorithms. So that one of the algorithms, which that algorithm will be covered by Uddesh Somani right after my session. Okay, so I will hand over to my Uddesh Soman, and now after that also I will be available. You can ask more questions after that. Okay, so Udemy is also good. Udemy is good, but Udemy will give you very elementary programs. Udemy is very nice to start with, and Udemy will offer you 500 rupees, 700 rupees, so you can start with Udemy. But their programs are very elementary, yeah. So they are not much useful. Okay. Ashutosh, BSc, it goes like this. You join the program first, they will give you admission to everybody. 2 months they will teach everything. And after that, after the 2 months, they will take a test. IIT Madras will take a test. And you have to score above 50% in that test. If you score above 50%, you are allowed to continue. Otherwise, they will not allow you to continue. So when you join, everybody can join. There is no entrance test. There is no entrance test to join. They will teach you 2 months data science. Then they will take you exam. And then you can continue. If you pass that exam, 50%, you can take 50. You can easily get 50%. My brother's daughter has got 50%. So she easily passed it. So you can also pass. So search for little bit. more information on web, you will get all this information.
The
So
applications are open right now. You can check on the IIT Madras online degree website.
yeah, Udesh Soman has also fit your Sanjan BSc, Bachelor of Science in Data Science from IIT Madras. Masters in Data Science, you can go to upgrade or great learning. UPGRED upgrade or great learning. I'm writing here upgrade, UPGRED or GRATLEARNING. They are good platforms. Okay. Upgrade and great learning. So I'll stop sharing now and all over to you. I will stop video also. So over to you, Udesh. Good luck. Good luck, Udesh.
Am I audible and my screen's visible, right? Hello?
Yeah, your screen is visible, Udesh, and you are audible also.
Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Udesh Soman. I'm a part of AI Club by Shailendra Kadre. Sir has taught me machine learning. And I've been a part since the very beginning of the AI Club. Currently, I am enrolled in BTech program. I'm studying in 5th semester, Department of Electrical Engineering in Ujjain Engineering College. Today, I'll be giving you a brief introduction of one of the machine learning algorithms known as linear regression. Actually, someone has annotations on, I think. Can you please clear annotations? Okay.
Just do the similar steps as Sir has done. Then they are not going to do the things like that.
Please remove the 10 mark.
Yeah, I don't see setting for that.
Deny the access for it.
Okay, it's from disable annotation. Okay, so we can start. Then moving on to the linear regression. So Sir has already described what are the various machine learning methods, supervised learning, unsupervised learning. We'll be looking at the regression problems. The regression problems, these kind of problems are concerned with the value or the amount of the target variable. We normally deal with numerical values like the price of houses or the stock price of stock, or maybe someone's scores in some certain exam, kind of things like that. These are the things we deal in regression problems. Classification problems, as Sir has explained, classification problems are concerned with categorical values, like whether something is true or false, whether an object, knowing the object. We have facial recognition systems, so whether the user is using the phone or someone else is using your mobile unlocks using facial recognition, so it tells whether it's the already registered user or not. So these are the examples of classification. So we'll be looking at regression problem right now, and a simple algorithm known as linear regression. So this has Sir has already explained this, how what is classification regression. In regression, we simply predict the values, the numerical values of data. By knowing the input attributes, we can predict the numerical values of the data. So moving on. Here we come at linear regression. So as you can see, here we have a data of number of radio ads and the revenue. So there is some company that puts on ads on radio, and upon putting certain number of ads, how much revenue it can generate. So we can see we have higher the number of radio ads, the higher we have revenue. So how can we tell how many ads will result in how much revenue? So this is you can see the data is almost around the line described here. Our task in regression is to find this line. We find this line, and how do we find it? We find its equation. So in if you have studied linear algebra, you know the equation of line. So you have a dependent variable and an independent variable. So all our input attributes are independent variables, and we put those independent attributes or independent variables in some equation in order to find our dependent variable or the target variable. Here we have y. So in this particular problem, y concerns to the revenue, how much revenue we have generated, the dependent variable, and independent variable x, which refers to number of radio ads. This is simple linear regression. It corresponds to only one dependent and one independent variable. In practice, when we look at real world problems, we have multiple input attributes, like about the house price problem. So we have multiple input attributes like number of bedrooms, number of what is the square feet area of the house, and kind of things like that. So in simple, our task in regression, any kind of regression problem, is to get this equation. Y is equals to bx or bx plus c. C is constant. B sometimes we refer to it as m. It is a slope of that line. In multivariable regression, you will find there are multiple input attributes and each with their own coefficient. So they will have beta 1, b1 for x1, b2 for x2, like that. And the c is intercept, the base price, when all x values are 0, all input attributes are 0. If we extend the line, we can see this is the part where we get the intercept. It means even if we don't put any ads on radio, we can still generate this much revenue. Whatever the point concerns with, we can generate this much revenue. So this is the intercept or constant. So these are a couple of things that are in our linear regression equation. And as I explained, by linear regression, we just have to find the line which fits all the data points, and with that line you can predict the data. So if you look at this point, how much revenue I will generate if I put on 50 ads. So we will just see the point that corresponds to it, how the revenue for 50 ads. We can see this is the point. Somewhere above $10,000. It may or may not be the actual value. That comes in the part of errors. We'll see that later. That comes in errors, but we can still predict. Predict value up to a certain accuracy, certain closeness to the actual value. So moving on now. We need a couple of assumptions while we perform linear regression. The picture I've shown here is actually for multivariate linear regression, where we have multiple attributes for our data, multiple input attributes, and we predict some information using them. So first assumption is all the dependent variables should have high correlation with independent or target variable. Actually, it's a mistake. All the independent variables should have high correlation with dependent variable. So let us consider the horsepower here. If we consider horsepower as our dependent variable or our target variable, so all the other variables should have high correlation. I think you have already studied correlation in engineering mathematics. If not, correlation is just how closely these quantities are related. So currently we are referring to linear correlation. So how close these quantities are related on a linear level, how much they are linearly related. So if we consider this is our target variable, horsepower, it's some engine's data for some engine. If we consider HP as our target variable, so other variables should have high correlation with it. The correlation ranges from -1 to +1. -0 to -1 refers to negative correlation, means as value of one increases, the other's value decrease. If we go the other way, 0 to 1, then both these value increase simultaneously. So here we have the correlation with target variable should be close to 1 or -1 in case of negative correlation. So we can see here we have a good enough correlation here. -0.7, -1, -0.71 and -0.78. These refer to negative correlation. -0.45, this is low correlation, means this particular feature DRAT has low correlation with HP. So our first assumption is all the dependent variables have high correlation with the all the independent variables have high correlation with the dependent variable, and then other assumption is independent variables have little or no correlation amongst themselves. So if they have more correlation amongst themselves, they will describe each other rather than the target variable. The problem is known as multicollinearity. If as you go deep into machine learning and data science, you will understand what is multicollinearity. But we should have minimal correlation or no correlation amongst independent variables. So like these values are good, -0.17. This is good, but you can see we have multicollinearity here, -0.87, or here 0.89. These are the cases of multicollinearity. But as we go with model, we have to see in real life problems these kind of things exist, and we have to deal with these kind of things while we are making our model. So as when we go for machine linear regression, we already have, it is a supervised learning, so we already have the target attribute. We already have the target attribute y, whichever is your target attribute, just call it y, and we have x, all our input attributes. Our job at linear regression is to find b, the coefficient, could be anything, beta, b, whatever you like to take, and the constant, the intercept. We have to find these two things. So we proceed with machine learning. Say it's simple. If you already know how regression is performed, if you have studied it in engineering mathematics, you already know how regression is performed. The computer uses same method but on a higher level to find out the equation, to find out the value of b and c, the coefficient and the intercept. So, and when we have all these values, when we know what is beta and intercept, means coefficient and intercept, we can form an equation, and that equation would describe your data. So if we use linear regression on this, we'll get an equation which will have a line like this. It will get equation of line in simple linear regression. When we have only one dependent and one independent variable, we get a line. The equation describes a line, and we can simply go for data points on this line. So here, if we go marketing budgets versus sales, so if we have to if we check for 100 for marketing budget in 100 lakhs, so what will be our sales? So here actually it is somewhere around 10 crore, and our predicted value is around here somewhere, I think 7 or 8 crores. So we are close enough. We can predict, and you can see it is close enough to most of the points. So that's one thing to keep in mind, that our linear regression line should be close to majority of the points. Obviously, it cannot it cannot intersect with every available point. That your data have to be perfectly linear for that. In case of data like this, when you have some abnormalities in your data, but it is almost linear, you can use linear regression. So to determine the value, to find the value to a certain extent. So what it if we go inside the working of algorithm, what it utilizes is least square method. So when your linear regression line is fitted on the data, we have data points here. So what is fitting? We just project a line here. We have found the equation. We just project a line here, and all the values that appear on the line, we mark them. Like we have this value, and more on. So we just find the sum of squares of residuals. So what is residual? Residual is your actual value subtracted from the predicted value. That is your residual. We just square that value and add all the residuals. Like here we'll find what's the difference between these 2 points, difference between these 2 points, difference between these 2 points. We'll square all these differences, and we'll add them together. So we'll find what are our residuals, the sum of our residuals, sum of square of residuals. And our goal would be, as I said, we have to find a regression line that fits most of the data. So our ultimate goal would be to reduce the sum of squares of residuals. This value which will get sum of square of residuals, we have to reduce it as much as we can. So that will be a better fitted line, and better model ultimately for our prediction purposes. So here we have calculation of residual sum of squares. So we just take observed point. We have this observed point here, and we go for the predicted value, means the point which corresponds to it on the line. And we take this value, we subtract them. So here we are. This is our predicted value, yi with this cap. This is our predicted value, and yi is our actual value that we had in data. Remember, we are doing supervised learning. So while training, we also have the actual value. We find the difference, we square them, and add them together, for every data point. And hence we get the residual sum of squares, the RSS value. So the method, the inbuilt method which we use, the least square method, it's actually concerned with finding the value of betas, or the coefficients, the coefficient that correspond to independent variables. We have to find such coefficients which minimize the residual sum of squares. We have to find those coefficients. And actually we do not have to manually do that. The computer will do that. We only have to supply the training data and the result, means our target attributes. We just have to supply them. So there we come across 3 values or parameters: the total sum of squares, residual sum of squares, and explained sum of squares. So we simply draw the mean line. We already have all the values of our target data, y. So we just find its mean, average value. And with that average value, we get this line, mean line. And for any predicted value, we find the difference of that predicted value from mean line, that is explained sum of squares. That is called explained, how much value our model is explaining. And the residual sum of squares, that what is the difference between actual value and the predicted value. That is our residual sum of squares. I have already explained. And if we add them together, if we find the difference of actual value from the mean value, we get total sum of squares. These are just terminologies, but how it is important, these values come in handy when we evaluate our model. Soon we're going to see the R2 score, R squared score. The R squared score actually uses these values in order to generate a parameter, so that we can know whether our model is good or not. That is R squared score. So first, how it happens on the inside the machine when your program is calculating those values. we already have the equation. We have predicted the values. What will it will do the mean squared error equation. So simple, the residual sum of squares, you just divide it from number of incidents, number of data points you are looking at. So if you have a data set of say 4,000 samples, you just calculate the residual sum of squares. This is residual sum of squares, and you just divide it with the number of samples in that data set. So you'll get mean of squared error. And when you get the mean of squared error, you can use it to this is called a cost function. As it is cost function, it refers to the errors we have to find. We have to find our coefficients in such a way that the cost function is reduced. Means the value of cost function is as low as possible, closer to 0. So now we can use the predicted values, or we can directly put our equation. Our predicted values are actually predicted using the equations. You can directly put on the equation like this. Means you don't have to actually do that. The computer will do all this. I'm just explaining what happens on the inside. And one more thing, gradient descent. So your one obvious question would be, how does the machine learning algorithm find the optimum value of beta? So if you are familiar with regression, regression, you know how to find the values of beta. It's the part of engineering mathematics course. So if you are familiar with it, you know how to find the values of beta or the coefficients. You know how you already have the coefficients. Now you have, but just because you have coefficient doesn't mean these are optimal values. So how to find the optimal values? We go with gradient descent. So we already have our error function. We differentiate it with respect to m, means whatever coefficient we already have in our equation. So in case of simple linear regression, we only have one coefficient, so m here, and the intercept. We also differentiate it with respect to the intercept. Our goal would be to find the minimum values of these two. Differentiate value of derivative with respect to the coefficient, and value of derivative with respect to the constant or the intercept. We have to minimize these. So as your machine learning, what will it do? It will alter the values of the coefficient. It will introduce some penalties to those coefficient, and using those penalties, add or subtract those penalties, your value, the value of your coefficients and intercept will change. And when they change, you will find the value of minimum. Is minimum value to which you can reduce your errors. Once you achieve that minimum value, so you see when we are at higher slope, means when our values are high, what derivative does is find the slope. So slope of error, if you wanna if I can explain the value of errors. So what will it do? It will take larger steps, means larger value of penalties, value of penalties at the beginning. Then it will lower the value of penalties as it moves forward. So once you achieve the minimum value, means now your errors are minimum. If you go any further, your errors will actually start to increase than the existing value. At that point, you stop, and whatever the value of your coefficients or intercept you have at that point, you use those values in your actual equation or the final equation. So this is how gradient descent works. It's an internal thing. Again, you don't have to do it manually. Your algorithm will do it. You'll see this in the Python demo. So already I've explained the RSS and TSS, residual sum of squares, and the total sum of squares. So why do we need these values? So once your machine learning, you have trained your algorithm, you have obtained a final model, you need to evaluate it. So how good my model is performing actually. So how do we do that? We have this R square measure. R square measure is simply the ratio of residual sum of squares to the total sum of squares and subtract it from 1. So the highest value R square can have is 1. 1 means you have no residual sum of squares. You have 0 residuals, which means your algorithm predicts exactly predicts every single value. That would be the interpretation if you get R square 1. So the highest value is 1, and while evaluating your model, your task is to increase the value of R square. There are multiple things you can do with your model, like hyperparameter tuning, feature selection, scaling your data. These are actually more advanced topics, but you can do we do these kind of things with our algorithm. We just it's not just you use the algorithm and make predictions. That's not all. You have to improve your algorithm, you have to optimize your algorithm. So while doing that, our main, what we keep in mind is we have to increase our R squared score. This R square score, we have to increase it. So once we have achieved a good enough value of R square score, say 0.91, 0.92, so we consider we consider our model good enough, and at that we can use that model in business purpose. But again, you have to refer to the project manager or your client, how much R square value do they want for the particular prediction model. So as we go to the physical significance, we can visualize if your line exactly describes each and every point. See, in this figure, this line describes each and every point. Means every point in our data set lie on the regression line we have obtained. So in that case, we get R square score equals to 1. If we have some of the points scattered around our regression line, which means it's not exactly predicting all the points, but it's close enough. So we have obtained a score of 0.7. If it's not describing very well, if it's underperforming, if I can say underperforming, then we have a score of 0.36. You can see here the line does not fit with most of the data points. The data points are scattered around the line, and the predictions made by this line are not very accurate. They are far from accurate. So we have lesser R score. And when we go to our final image, we can see the line describe there is negligible accuracy in description. These points are far away from the line. The line does not describe them, and we cannot use this line to predict our values. So in that case, our R square score is close to 0.05. So just keep in mind, if you have to keep this simple, just keep in mind we have to look for higher values of R square score. So I would say above 0.8 or 0.9 are good values for your model. So moving on. Okay, when it comes to evaluation of your linear regression algorithm, there's one more thing you have to see. Not just linear regression, any regression problem using any algorithm, you have to see the distribution of errors. So the error should be concentrated around the 0 value. Means you get this bell curve, normal distribution. If you are familiar with, you get if you get the normal distribution of your errors and the mean value is close enough to 0, then your model is good, which means there are no higher error values, which means the error terms are less in their magnitude, and most of them are concentrated around 0 mean value or the 0 value, which means most of the points are described. They don't have any error. So this is an ideal description, ideal representation of a normal distribution of error terms. In practice, you might get kind of skewed distribution. You have to just plot the histogram and see what is the distribution of error terms. And calculation of error terms, it's simple. Error terms are simply your RSS value, residual sum of squares. Instead of RSS, you can, if you want to see the direction, means whether it is predicted above the value or below the value, you can just go with actual values. So instead of squaring, you can just refer to this error is equals to actual minus predicted. You can go with that and you'll find, and you can plot the histogram. There are methods in Python or R to plot the histogram. You can use them and plot the histogram and see what is the distribution of your errors. For a good model, your distribution should look like this. And a normal curve. Normal curve means you have less errors and the errors are normally distributed. So it's a good model. Moving on. One more thing we have to see when we check for errors is that apart from, is there any visible pattern in error? So if there is any pattern in error, it means the machine learning algorithm, the errors generated are around certain data points. And in that case, what will happen? A certain kind of data will give more errors than the rest of the data. So you have to see that your errors are normal or distributed evenly. So you can see here we have error values. These are the error values follow a certain pattern, like a parabola. And here also we have a parabolic pattern for our errors. So what happens is that for data that resides in this region or data that resides in this region, we'll have more errors compared to data which resides in this region. So our machine learning model should be able to predict with a certain accuracy each and every kind of data. Means all the data values that are entered in machine learning model. The machine learning model should not be biased. It should evenly predict, means predict with a certain same accuracy for every kind of data. And for that we have to see that we have normal distribution, means homogeneous distribution. So this term is actually known as homoscedasticity. We have to check for it. So you can simply just use a scatter plot. You can use your actual values, the values you have for your target value, and the errors that are generated, value of errors that are generated. And if you plot that and you get this random distribution or homogeneously distributed homogeneous distribution, you can say your machine learning model is good. It is not biased for a certain kind of data. But if you find patterns like this, you have to make changes to your machine learning model. Otherwise, the model would not be good enough for prediction purpose. And moving on, I talked about multivariate linear regression. So far, what we have seen corresponds to simple linear regression. Simple linear regression means you only have one input attribute and one target attribute, means one independent and one dependent variable. But in actual practice, we can see we have multiple input attributes. So it is simple. We have multiple coefficients. For each input attributes, we have some coefficient. Like for input attribute x1, we have coefficient beta 1. For input attribute x2, we have b2, and up to that bn and xn. So any number of input attributes you have in your model, you can simply assign a coefficient to that. Your machine learning algorithm, the same way it does in simple linear regression, it will do in multivariate linear regression. And at the end, you will get your dependent variable. As we have seen the plots in 2 dimension, if we go for a third value, which means 2 independent variables and 1 dependent variable, we enter the 3D space. We enter the 3D space and we can predict using that. But as we move to higher values, we enter higher dimensions. So we cannot visualize that. Up to 3 dimensions we can visualize. Otherwise, that's not much of a concern. You just have to go with the dependent variable and all the evaluation matrices that I've told you. We have covered 3 evaluation matrices: R2 score, error distribution, and homoscedasticity. You just have to look at those three values and those three values or plots, and you can say whether your model is good or not. You do not have to actually go into visualization of higher dimensions. So as in simple linear regression, we have a single line describing the data points. When we go to higher dimensions or multivariate linear regression, we have a hyperplane. So hyperplane is a subspace whose dimension is one less than that of its ambient space. So if we have three variables, one dependent and two independent, we'll get a hyperplane with two dimensions. So a simple plane, if we can say. As we go for higher values, we'll enter a hyperplane, which will have number of dimension, which will be in dimensions less than those of total number of attributes, or you can say number of input attributes. As many input attributes you will have, that will be the dimension order of your hyperplane. So the same way we calculate the distance from line or the value predicted on the line, we go for the value predicted on the plane. So you can see the points are actually scattered in a 3D feature space, and they lie somewhere around or on the hyperplane. This we have here is the hyperplane. And just as we do in simple linear regression, all the processes are same: gradient descent, calculation of error terms, residual sum of square, total sum of square, all that is same. So thank you. That was the theoretical session. Now, if you guys have any doubt in this, I'll be ready to answer. Otherwise, I'll move to the Python demonstration. I've actually prepared a Python demonstration with a problem of linear regression problem. So we'll move to that. If anyone has questions, please put them in the chat box, or you can just unmute your mic and ask. Okay, I don't see any questions till now. Okay, fine. I'll be moving to the Python demonstration. If you guys find any difficulty or want me to explain anything else, just interrupt me. I'll explain you guys. So this is our Python demonstration. So let me describe the problem to you first. We have a data set of a college gym. We all have gyms at our college, and we want to know when we go to the gym at certain time, at certain month, or say at certain weather condition, how many people will there be at gym? So obviously, if you go to gym, you will try to avoid much crowd. Given the corona situation, you will try to attend the gym when there are less number of people. So how will you know at what time you can go to the gym? So we just collect certain data. We have a data here. So the date at which we entered the gym, timestamp actually refers to the number of seconds passed till the beginning of day, which day of week. So as sir explained, our major part of machine learning is actually concerned with data cleaning, but the data is already clean and already encoded according to our needs, so I won't be doing that. But you can see the day of week, so it corresponds, all the days of week are numbered, like Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So 1, 2, 3, 4, they are assigned number. These are binary attributes: is weekend, whether it is a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, or it's a working day, whether the given day is a holiday or not. So we can know that what is the temperature of the day. I think this data is in Fahrenheit. So what's the temperature of the day? Obviously, if it's a very warm day, less people will attend. If it's cold or moderate temperature, good enough temperature, so more people will attend the gym. It is a college gym, so obviously whether it is a start of semester, is during semester, we have attributes like this. We also have month, which month of the year we are corresponding to, and the hour of day. So we have this kind of input attributes right now, and we have to predict how many people are there at the gym for a given set of input attributes. We just put in these values. We can if you want to know whether there are people at gym right now or not, how many people are there at gym right now or not, you can simply put this values in your machine learning algorithm. It will predict how many people are there at gym. I mean expected number of people. So when you do it in Python, you need certain libraries. We have NumPy for all the array operations. Pandas actually refer to data frames. The one we are seeing right now is a data frame. So everything we need to do with data cleaning and all, we can do those things using NumPy library and Python library. Matplotlib and Seaborn are for plotting. So when we visualize our data using plots, bar graphs, histograms, scatter plots, we need these two libraries, Matplotlib and Seaborn. So we simply read the data. We have a CSV file or maybe an Excel file. We simply read that data. We can see the data how it is. I'm actually telling the steps involved while you make a machine learning project, or even if you are making a machine learning algorithm for your own self or for some project, you have to go through these steps. So you need to get an idea of the data you have. So we call for information, so we can see how many samples we have. So here we have 62,184 samples. What is the data type of the sample we have? So most of these are in integers or float values. The date value is an actually object means string. Either it's a date time object or string. We can call for the type. We can get the statistical overview. What is the mean value of the data, standard deviation, and percentile distribution means how much population corresponds to certain data, or the how much population lies within certain data. So we have these percentile values if you're familiar with them, and maximum minimum values. What is the maximum value of data, minimum value of data? We can get this using the describe method. And then we have to check for null values. If there are any null values in our data set, sometimes there are missing values. They can either be encoded in some form, like sometimes they put question mark or zeros in places. Otherwise the data simply contains null operator in whichever language you are using. It's null operator, none value. So we have to check for those. So simply we can check for those whether we have null value. This is just a function. You can go through the coding yourself. So we have no none values. That's good actually. Otherwise, we would have to we have to do certain steps to either fill the null values, or if they are less in number, we can drop the null values. We have both the options. When it comes to filling the null values, that's whole other subject. Whole other subject and whole other topic. I'm not be covering that right now. One thing we can do is extract features. So I have used here the date time object. It's available in Pandas library. So I have extracted the minute and the day of month. I've extracted the minute of the hour, whichever hour we are working with. If it's 2 a.m. so 2 p.m. so it's 14 hours, and how many minutes past 14 hours. So I've extracted such certain features. You can when you make a machine learning problem, as far as your understanding of data goes, you can drop certain features, you can add certain features. These are the steps that are involved in data cleaning and data processing, and also in data acquisition. These are the processes. We can drop unnecessary columns. So like I have extracted the minute and day from date time object, so I can simply drop it. So this is one example. When going through your project, you have to make sure you do not drop any important column. Just keep in mind and have a look at data, or maybe consult someone who knows the data and importance of certain attributes. You can refer to them. and we can find how many unique values we have. So it's actually good when we have categorical data. When we have categorical data, we need to find the unique values. So like day of week is a categorical data, whether it's weekend or not, holiday or not, these are categorical data. So we already know there are two unique values. They are already encoded as numerical values. Otherwise, if they weren't, we have to encode them into numerical values. Like the day of week, if it was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, we would have to use a certain encoding method. Like we have one hot encoding or label encoding. You can look at them yourself. So if our data contains categorical variables in the form of strings, or else you have to actually encode them as numerical variables, because our machine learning algorithm actually works with numbers, not so we have to encode them. At last, we after all that data processing, we just check for info once again. So we can see all our data types are numerical, int and float. So yeah, we are ready to go for our machine learning. One more thing you have to do before you start machine learning or making the model, you have to go through data analysis. You have to analyze the data and know what kind of data you have. So we use visual methods using Seaborn, Matplotlib. There are other packages for visualization as well. If you are comfortable, you can use them. So first, at the beginning, when I was explaining linear regression, I've explained that our first assumption is that our target attribute or the dependent variable has maximum correlation with the independent attributes. So we can simply call for correlation, and I have plotted a heat map for it. So simple, we get the matrix and intensity of the correlation. So we can see our target attribute number of people. It has these are the values of correlation. So even without making our model, I haven't created a model yet, and yet I can just look at the data and I can say this data is not appropriate for linear regression, or if it had higher values of correlation with the target attribute, I can say it is good for linear regression. But here we can see the highest value we go is 0.55. And actually, while corresponding to correlation, we go for +1 or -1, means as close to +1 or as close to -1 as possible. But here I can just look at the data and say that this is not the most appropriate data, or linear regression won't be the most appropriate algorithm for it. But still, since we are making a demonstration of linear regression, I'll show you guys more data analysis. So if you guys know normal distribution, if we have normal distribution in our data, then actually machine learning algorithms work at their best around normally distributed data. So if you have normally distributed data, it's good. If you don't have, there are transformation methods like box cost transformation, power transformation. Yeah, I'll not be covering those right now, but while making your project, while you are making a perfect project, you can go through those transformations and actually convert or transform your data in such a manner that it gives the best of the results. So for seeing the normality of data, you can simply plot a histogram. We can see here this part is almost normal, but there is skewness towards the left side. You can check this for all the numerical columns. You can use multi variable plotting. So here, along with the histogram of number of people, I've also added whether it is a weekend or not. You have to just add the hue parameter while plotting. So whether it is a weekend or not, whether it is a holiday or not, it is a start of semester or not. So you can see the distribution with respect to multiple variables. You can do that. You have to go through what kind of plots you want. You have to these are your prerequisites. You have to know what kind of plot you need in order to analyze your data, and what are the methods available to get that kind of plot. So for example, I'm not covering many. I'm just giving you an idea. We can have frequency or count plot for categorical variables. We can have other things also like pie charts and scatter plots. I think I've added scatter plot here. See, this is a scatter plot for number of people versus timestamp. So number of people at gym versus the timestamp means second passed till the beginning of day. Number of seconds passed till the beginning of day. And for adding one more variable to it, so I've added the hue, means based on whether it's a weekend or not. So you can just simply visualize these data sets. The visualization is up to you, how much visualization you need to do, but it will give you an idea what kind of algorithm suits your data, or what kind of algorithm would give you better performance, or whether there is a need to transform your data or make changes to your data. You will know that by using exploratory data analysis and actually visualizing the data. So I'll be skipping over these. One more thing when it comes to visualization is box plots. So box plots actually correspond to your numerical values. So box plot gives you an idea of the mean value, the line in the box. This line actually corresponds to the mean value, the average value of your data. The boundaries of the box correspond to the 25 percentile and 75 percentile of your distribution, and these end bars, the bars at the end, actually interquartile range multiplied by 1.5. So whatever data lies within this region actually is good for your machine learning model. But if there is data that lies outside this, we call that outliers. These are extreme values which affect your model. Like these values actually affect your mean value. They won't affect your the percentile distribution, but they affect your mean value. So we have to deal with this. If they are less in number, you can just simply drop them. You can use transformations to actually scale them down in such a way that they are not so extreme, or you can simply drop them if you like. If they are less in number and do not affect your model very much, you can simply drop them. So using box plot, you can see that. So here for timestamp, we have no outliers. All these points outside these margins, we have these lines as margins. All the points outside these margins are actually our outliers or extreme values. So we have outliers in temperature. You can see there are no outliers for day or hour. So that's good. Right now, I'm not dropping anything as the outliers are more in number that will highly affect our machine learning model. So not dropping them. If they are less in number, you can drop them. So now we go for creating our model. And in order to create our model, we need test and train data. So we simply use in sklearn library, we have train test split. We can call it and split our data. So you can just simply assign what portion of data you will have as your training size, and what portion of data you will have as your testing size. And the random state you have to fix in order to generate the same values again and again. Like if you rerun your program or share your code, in that case the random states make sure that selections that were made randomly in the first attempt, they stay the same. Otherwise your results will vary each time you each time you run your model or run your code. The values will change. You don't want that. So we fix a random state. And scaling is involved since data are at various scales. In our data, we can see days of weeks are in range of 0 to 7, while number of people go to certain 100, and timestamp is actually in certain thousands of values. So these are at very different scales. So we want to make sure that our machine learning model have them at same scale. Scale data actually gives better results because your machine learning model treats each and every data point with similar level of importance. So you have to scale them. So we have multiple methods for scaling. Here I have used robust scaler. You can go for standard scaling, min max scaler, and any other scaling methods available. So we simply call the fit transform method and fit them. And after splitting, we can see the size we have. So 70% of our data is for training, and 30% is for testing. So these are the number of instances we can call shape, and we can see number of instances in our data set and number of columns. Further, we split it into the input attributes and target attribute. So I've simply copied it into two variables. Xtrain means X data, or the independent variables or the input variables actually refer to Xtrain. And I have copied every column except the target column, and the target column goes in Y variable, Y-train, and similar for the test data. So simply importing linear regression. Here I have means the actual model I have created using stat model API, but stat model API has ordinary least square method, that the one I have described in the theory session. But if you want to use the similar features that are available in sklearn library, if you want to use functions available in sklearn library, I'd recommend you use the linear regression. The method remains same. You only have to pass these data, white training data and the training data into your model. So it will train according to both your data sets, the input attributes and target attribute. You have to pass them and it will train itself. And just I've called the summary of our model. So we can see I've already said the correlation was less. So the data won't be very good for linear regression. And we can see here the R-square score is less. It's 0.51. It's barely halfway. We actually prefer the R-square score around 1, as close to 1 as possible. It's 0.5 means it's halfway to that. There are other scores as well. As you go deep into machine learning, as you go for advanced evaluation methods, you can actually see what these scores mean. For now, I'm just referring to the R-squared score. So the R-square score is less, we can see. And if we make predictions, I have created a function to all those plots I've shown you. I've created a function to plot all those and the R2 score. So we can see the R2 score is 0.5092. It has predicted the value, and after prediction, it has used those predictions to calculate the R2 score and make all these plots. The error distribution is good enough. It's concentrated around, it's normally distributed and concentrated around 0. The mean value is around 0. So error distribution is good. But if you go for actual versus prediction, the actual versus prediction value should be of line. These actual versus prediction for a good model, it should be line or close enough to a line, angled at 45 degrees, and means a line like this. That would be good for your. That would mean your machine learning model is good. But as we can see, the data is not suitable for linear regression, or maybe alternately we can say linear regression is not a suitable algorithm for this data. So we can see there are errors, and we have very high errors. And as we look at the residual plot, so the scatter plot I have told you for homoscedasticity, or the random distribution of errors, we can see the errors here follow some pattern. So we need to improve our model. Linear regression is finished till now. There is means the further topics actually include selecting the various features, selecting optimizing your model. So as you go on optimizing your model, you will find that these values actually align up to the 45-degree angle, or your residual plot becomes more randomly distributed, right? Or else, if your model does not give sufficient result, you have to switch the model. So I'm not going to explain, but actually just for showing you guys, I have added another algorithm, the random forest regressor. So when I make predictions using random forest regressor, you can see the error are distributed along the zero value. It's not actually not much of a normal distribution, but most of the errors are around the zero value, means zero error. So it's good. The actual versus prediction graph goes, scatter plot goes almost around the 45-degree line. The predictions are good, and the residual plot is more homogeneous. It's not perfect, but it's more homogeneous than the previous one. I mean, you can see the pattern here. The pattern is slightly resolved when we go to an alternate model. And most of all, you can see the R-square score. Here we have R-square score of 0.91. So it's good. It's close to 1. Our model has sufficient performance. Then we test it on, then we go for the testing data. We simply predict our values for testing data, and we can see our performance on the unknown data. So what you have to keep in mind is that all the scoring matrices that you use for your testing data should be close enough to your scores for the training data. So actually, when we go in practice, we actually hold a 5% margin. So for the 5% margin here, I can say that we have R2 score of 0.91 for training data and 0.87 for testing data. So yeah, it is within the 5% range. So our model is not biased or does not overfit or underfit for our data. So yeah, that's all. That was the Python and Python demonstration of the linear regression model, and along with a comparison, and also comparison with random forest. So if you guys have any questions, please. That was all from my side. Thank you very much. If you guys have any doubts or questions, please, you can ask.